So I was just watching this, God knows why, I guess for this realization, because I don't usually watch this kind of video, just so random. And then the realization came that they're going to turn this whole planet, like they're going to manifest, you know how we say prison planet? That's what they're going to turn it into. And the idea came from when they're, making companies now which help people who've been through the prison or penal system to rehabilitate into society. So these integration companies, we're seeing more the rise of that, and that's the outer end, right? First you go into prison, there's lots of ways that they make money out of all that, and then the prison system itself makes money, How much I'm not sure of, but, this is the organic portal answer always, right? They always want to monetize it like that. It's a very soulless action. And you might say, well, Ben, what about this idea that, money, it's accountability as well, like energetically speaking. Yes, money is energy, and therefore it's a good way of at least keeping count. I get that. Otherwise, it would be even more primitive. But there is something, in this newfound resonance that's going to start to be felt more and more as we progress through the 70-year apocalypse from 2012 to 2089, the return back into nature. The apocalypse is from 2012 to 2089, which is 7 11-year solar cycles. That's the Christic or Christ number, right? And 7 11-year solar cycles. So you just got to remember this stuff all undulates. And so the archaic revival, the resonance of that will undulate and promulgate temporally, from we're feeling the outside and after of the apocalypse. So it's emanating from there, from the future, undulating backward, and as we approach it, it gets more powerful, obviously. So I just want to add that in there, because it's going to affect everything, like a way that the archaic revival and return to nature resonance will affect us will seem simplistic and like we were just morons to overlook it. And it'll be very interesting, this apocalypse. And if you stay tuned to my channel, I'm going to cover all this as a shaman walking crystal, my shaman name, right? I'm going to be covering the apocalypse, I have a feeling, because I seem to see it in ways that other people don't see it and can talk about it, hence in much more novel ways like this, especially to do with time in a larger occurrence, or concurrence. Anyway, so, I was thinking about that they're going to, with this apocalypse, into the apocalyptic energy, which seems to me to feel about its height around 2050. Around 2050, everywhere will look like shit. Everywhere will need infrastructure upgrading, forget the coronavirus, maybe it's still around. But COVID-19, this virus we have now, but there'll be many, like Ebola is still there. Do you understand? I made a video called Layers of the Apocalypse, because this, like I just mentioned, the undulation of after the apocalypse, return to nature, archaic revival resonance undulates, there's also a layering of the apocalypse coming on. So it comes on in layers. One layer is, heightened cybersecurity and how that's going to box us in. But the apocalypse is all these boxes of the last real attempts here of the Black Alliance to keep control, as nature, unwieldingly says F you and comes, from the center of everything, pushes out through everything and affects everything, and sort of pierces the dark veil, if you will. But anyway, nonetheless, there'll be layers to this apocalypse, like I've mentioned, like food shortage. shortage of agricultural production or something like this. That's another layer of the apocalypse, you see. So we already had the eschaton, too bad, while we were yelling really loudly at you were being ignorant, and you missed it. So the eschaton was where we ascended, and we got all this, I learnt from 2007 to 2017 what most of you are now going to take 70 or 100 years to learn. It was a heightened period, compression-wise, temporally, in a temporal ontological sense, so it was a compression, right? We called it the compression at the end. And I just wanted to say anyway, the whole epiphany I had here today was, they're really going to manifest this prison planet, the beginnings of all of that will be erected by 2030. It'll be done by then. You'll see it all. But then obviously it's going to take a good few decades to play out. It's not just going to come up overnight and fall the next morning, you know what I mean? So because it's a physical structure, it will stay there for a while, and then luckily we have impermanence. Hey Buddhas. Anyway, so what they're going to really do is, manifest this prison planet. Like, they have to make everything monetized, because, the system is like how corporations are trying to become sentient beings. They're soulless corporations, but they're trying to become sentient beings. Have you ever noticed that? The integration of a new department like human resources was an oldie but a goodie. Then there's, biomimicry, trying to make the actual corporate exoskeleton, the building, like some sort of half tree, half organism, a biotechnologically enhanced building, really the exoskeleton or the body of the corporate, right? And how a corporation can be multinational is the mind of the corporation spread out through many bodies, like an egregore or something. Anyway, so I really just had this epiphany in this video that they're really going to try and manifest Prison Planet, and their whole idea is always to try and suck it into the system. And that's like how I mentioned corporations are soulless entities trying to seek sentience. It's the same with the system itself. Is like a big sentient organism that the organic portals have created to usurp, overrule, and so on and so forth nature, right? But nonetheless usurp it, which also means to, take it as well. So, like a heist and so on. Anyway, so an integration, in an integration sense, right? It's like the demiurge wants to be God, you know what I mean? So anyway, it's all acting upon those resonances to that depth, all the way to the depths, as far as you can deep. So my whole point was that, with the rise of these integration companies, you've got the whole loop. Do you see it? Like, they'll even brainwash you nicely at the end if there's anything that needs an addendum, a bit of a tying up of loose ends, to your brainwash, and, to become an outstanding good citizen, right? So it's not untimely. It's obviously synchronistic at the right time that these things come around at this decade, right, into the apocalypse. I find that very interesting. Maybe you don't, but I do. It's always perfectly timed. So anyway, my little epiphany for this video was that, they're definitely going to try and manifest Prison Planet. Now, I'm the site creator of consciouszine.net, and I have a perfect Twitter picture which shows you the wall that they're trying to make now, American Trump wall, and just like in a hyper realistic drawing, a literal just a depiction, but watch how it manifests to that crazy height. Now it's these massive walls and just a highway going through, lots of cameras and stuff. But go have a look at the picture. It's on Twitter, I think, or my Instagram. Now I don't use either. I think it's Instagram. If you look up, there's 2 Consciousness in Instagram accounts because I forgot the first one's password. But I just never ended up using either of them, and both of my accounts only have like 1 or 2 pictures. And you know, if you find both accounts, you'll surely see the picture I'm talking about, like a massive wall with cameras everywhere. And that's also funny, you know, I posted that like 10 years ago. This was well before Trump mentioned he was going to build a wall. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this stuff is all predictable. And, you know, this stuff will all algorithmically play out. And that's why I can see, you know, like a shaman like me can see the end of things. Because it is predictable. You know, the physical universe is like a mechanical machine. And it's you know, it's spurting out numbers, and you can watch it and you can predict upstream. Now, it's hard to do that with all of reality for, you know, a complete picture, because, you know, those numbers and the variables and all, etc., are just far beyond our scope, you know, our human ability. We don't even have a long enough lifetime, I think, to calculate all that. I'm not sure a supercomputer can even do it, because that supercomputer would have to be, you know, what the universe is. The universe is a supercomputer, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like always the demiurge thinks it can become that, but it's just an urge, it turns out. Just an urge. Take that one into account. So anyway, yeah, the epiphany was prison planet. They're going to actually really like manifest it, and my whole little idea was you can really see that, how the loop is complete now. They've got the integration centers.